Hello everyone, welcome to Grow Roots. This is Shannon and welcome to my September 2025 backyard garden tour. This month I'm not really even sure where to begin because everything is looking pretty good for September in North Texas, and I have a brand new garden bed to show you and how it's doing because it's been in the ground for about 3 weeks now. So I'm not 100% sure where you would like to begin, but for those of you who are maybe waiting on this garden bed update, I think I will start here to let you know how it is doing. So this area that you see right here is a brand new area. We had a 14-foot trampoline here for many years. Our kids enjoyed it thoroughly, but our youngest is now 10 and just not really using it as much. I do have a home daycare, but honestly, the trampoline was getting really run down, and I had a vision for a long time of turning this area into a shed space as well as a garden space, and that is exactly what we did just about. Well, it started at least 2 months ago when we started putting in the shed. We found the shed on clearance and all of that kind of stuff, but the plants have been in the ground for about 3 weeks now, and so I'd like to give you an update and share with you how they are doing. And so let me start with this corner. Let me start back over here. Back over there I have a an oak leaf hydrangea, and this is Proven Winners Gatsby Pink Oak Leaf. And yes, I absolutely realize there's a little bit of a fungal issue. This is what happens whenever oak leaf hydrangeas get overhead watering, and it gets a little bit, at first we were hand watering it, which you can't help but get the leaves wet when you're hand watering, but it gets a little bit of overspray from the grass sprinklers. However, last weekend we installed drip irrigation, and you can't see it because I've now applied mulch over it, but I'll pop up a quick video of what that drip irrigation looks like. And so every plant now is getting watered at the roots, and then it hooks in back there to our sprinklers back there. And that is gonna hopefully ensure that this guy doesn't get too much overhead watering anymore. These leaves are gonna be fine, the plant is gonna be fine. You can see that new growth is unaffected, and it still has continued to grow since I planted it. These leaves are new since I planted it, which is so fun. But this plant is absolutely beautiful. I really hope that we do get this pink coloration. Sometimes here in the South, we do not get the pink coloration on different types of hydrangeas that we're supposed to, like the panicle hydrangeas and things like that. We just don't get that pink like they do up in the North and in the Midwest sometimes, but we'll see how this goes. This is supposed to get 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, so you can see it has a very big area to grow, and I think it will be very happy there. I'm so excited to see like that whole space just completely covered in oak leaf hydrangea. They are absolutely stunning plants, and you can see it's mostly shaded. There is a period in the mid-afternoon that it does get some sun, and I have another oak leaf hydrangea in another side yard that I'll show you in this tour that is huge, and it gets like midday sun and it does perfect. So I'm not worried about it. Oak leaf hydrangeas can kind of take midday sun here in the South. So coming up right here, this is a Sweet William plant I planted from seed this year. It is from Botanical Interest, and the most amazing Sweet William you'll ever see, honestly. It has these really large almost mop head type blooms in the spring. It's also an evergreen plant for us here in North Texas, so I love that. Anything that's evergreen that stays kind of green all winter long and provides winter interest, that's what I'm all about. But in the spring is really when this plant provides its show. I'll pop a picture on the screen for you. It's just absolutely beautiful. I do have a border. 2 plants are acting as border plants to this entire garden bed, and obviously the one that pops out to you guys the most, I'm sure, is Lemon Ball Sedum. So this like when I thought of doing a border plant that could take both sun and shade, because this is kind of what this garden area is like. Areas are full sun, part sun, and shade. So I thought, what border plant could be completely consistent all the way around and also provide evergreen interest, which this hopefully will, and then also provide a pop of color, and that is definitely lemon ball sedum. I absolutely love this plant. I think it provides a beautiful pop of color. The other requirement was that it needed to be salt tolerant, because I do have a dog that likes to go pee on certain border plants, and so I wanted to get one that was salt tolerant, and that's why it's at the forefront here. But unfortunately, what is kind of happening here, especially with this one, that is an area that when my puppy, she's about a year and a half old, like, she has trampled all of this grass because she just absolutely loves to come out here and play and play and play. And for whatever reason, this corner, she keeps going, like, trampling on this corner. And so one thing about the lemon ball sedum, it has a lot of positives, but it doesn't take a lot of traffic very well. So all the pieces I've tried to kind of plant in between here that she's broken off, it does have a lot of new growth. So I think it will probably do okay if I can just keep her away from this area. We do need to get some type of border, which we haven't quite figured out yet, and once I get that border in, maybe she'll understand that that is a spot that she is not allowed to go, and then I can get this thing to get going. But it's doing fantastic otherwise. And then the plant that I have that's right behind that is Stella d'Oro daylily. So Stella d'Oro daylily is honestly one of the best, toughest, most long blooming, reblooming daylilies that you can find. And because of that, they are pretty common. They're just your typical, like, bright yellow daylily bloom. But I got them because they can take sun or shade. I've got daylilies in some part shade, and they do beautifully that way. And because they are super, like, reblooming, and they just look stunning, honestly. So I have this vision of, the lemon ball sedum and then the daylilies coming right behind that. And then what I will do in the next month or two is get some daffodil bulbs and put them right behind the daylilies, or maybe in between, because I do have a lot of space in between the daylilies for now. Hopefully they'll grow in, but planting daffodils in between. Daffodils and daylilies are fantastic companion plants because the daylilies will just barely be coming up as the daffodils are blooming, and then when the daffodils blooms are spent, you have to leave the daffodil foliage up so that the bulb can get the energy that it needs to bloom next season. And they just kind of will fit right in with the daylilies that will then be coming up as well. So you can't really tell, like, it'll look like all daylilies. So that's my plan for that. And then let me come back over here. We'll finish this side of the garden. Right over here is a blanket flower, again planted from seed this year. This is a perennial, and it is one of my favorite perennials now, I think. It's just absolutely stunning and reblooming from spring. This was one of my first blooms in the spring, and as long as you deadhead it, which I do need to do a little bit of a better job to go deadhead some of these, as long as you deadhead it and give it lots of sun, it does really beautifully and provides the most beautiful pop of color. The only thing I don't like about it is a little bit floppy. Part of it is staked up right there, but otherwise it's such a great plant. Beautiful, beautiful plant, perennial. And then right next to it are two Russian sage, and they're doing good. This is called Little Spire Russian Sage, and it's supposed to have a smaller habit, like 3 feet tall and wide, I think. Here, let's look at that bloom. That's just gorgeous, and I love the mixture of the purple with the red and yellow. In my garden, I'm all about the color. I don't have a particular color scheme other than all of the colors are welcome. I just love them, and Anyway, the Russian sage is doing really well there. And then mixing in with the Russian sage over here is Texas rock rose. So this is definitely a native plant to Texas. It performs really, really well here, and it has these small hibiscus-like blooms that are pink, and it's just so cute. Most of the time they're only blooming in the morning and midday, and then by the evening the blooms will close, which is so interesting to me. And these are acting slightly floppy for me, but I think it's because it's fairly new plant and it's not been established yet. But those blooms are just so cute, and it just keeps reblooming and reblooming. It's super happy. I've got tons of buds coming, and yeah, I have 2 of them. So I have 1 planted here. Actually, do I have 3? No, it's just 2. But I feel like this is, you know what? Okay, hang on a sec. This is the rock rose. I do have these, and I thought that they were just baby rock roses. I still think they're baby rock roses, but now I'm starting to doubt myself. I'm not sure. We'll see what that is. I think they're baby rock roses. One thing about Texas rock rose is that they do reseed pretty heavily. So if you don't want them to spread, you'll need to kind of, pick up the new seedlings, but their seeds definitely are very high germination rate, and they can seed themselves pretty well. The plant that is here, look, there's a dragonfly on it. This is Veronica, and this is just one of the most awesome plants. I've never grown Veronica before, but it has been such a rock star. It has some new blooms coming up. This is what the spent blooms look like here. I should probably take those off, but I've got lots of new stems and new growth happening. But the dragonfly is like, come on, lady. I'm trying to perch here. But there's another new bloom there, and it just has this most beautiful purple color. The type of Veronica, I do not know. It was not labeled. I did a lot of research because I really wanted to know what type it was, and I do believe that it is Roman candles Veronica. It just, the shape of the leaves matches the Roman candles variety, and the color of the blooms definitely matches. But I wish I had more Veronica to plant, to be honest. I just absolutely love it. And then coming over here, I have 2 of these actually to kind of match on either side, but these are Shasta daisies, and they have struggled a little bit. But these Shasta daisies were given to me from my mother-in-law, who received them from a Collin County master gardener. Not sure, I think it's Betsy Shasta daisy, and it was one big plant that I had to split in 2, and this is the smaller part of it, and this one's actually doing really well. I'm going to just hop on over to this one. This one is not doing as well, and there's a couple reasons for that. Just generally, this guy has not done well to being in full sun for whatever reason, even when I had it in a pot all summer long, and I noticed that it preferred part shade. So that's one reason, but another reason is because my dog, I told you I have a dog that likes to pee on border plants, and for whatever reason, because this plant is a little bit taller, it has peed on it. And so these bottom parts are dying off, but I do see some new growth, so I don't think that it's completely dead. It's still trudging on, so I think it'll be okay. And then coming back over here, I have another Sweet William, battling with my shadow. Another Sweet William there that's doing fabulous, and another Sweet William there. So in the springtime, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see those Sweet William come up and just look amazing. Coming over here, back here, I have 2 yarrow. This one has always struggled, but it's got some new growth, so I think it will do okay. And then this yarrow right here, the bloom is spent, so I probably should take care of that. But these are Summer Pastels yarrow, and they're pretty tough. And then over here, I have an echinacea. I can see, I think my dog is chewing on that some more again. Oh no, it's got lots of new growth and even a new bud coming in. This is Cheyenne Spirit Echinacea. Absolutely beautiful. I'll show you a picture in a moment. They can be yellow, they can be red, or they can be orange. And so I have 3 of them right over here, and they're handling that transplant pretty well. I've got a couple of leaves that got crispy. But for the most part, I think they're going to do just fine. And then another one right there. And coming over to this portion, as you can see, this is more of a shade situation, but they are getting more sun than I thought they would because we trimmed some of these branches up here. And so what I thought was going to be mostly full shade is now turning into a part shade situation, like 4 hours of sun. But all of these plants are supposed to be able to take part shade, so that should be okay. So the first one I'm going to talk about is that one. This one is Firelight Tidbit. I'll pop a picture of Firelight Tidbit on the screen, but I'm so excited to have this one and see how it does. And it has a smaller habit, like 3 feet by 3 feet, even if that. And it's a panicle hydrangea, and Firelight is supposed to get pink even in the south, but we'll see. Like I said, panicle hydrangeas here in the south just typically do not turn pink, so I'm excited to see that. And it has lots of new growth and has dealt with the transplant really well. This one, however, has not dealt with the transplant very well. It started off this size and is now this size, so we'll see if it survives. This is the Invincible Mini Mauvette, and again, this is actually a smooth hydrangea, so I was really excited to have this one because I've never grown a smooth hydrangea before. I love hydrangeas, but this one is supposed to be mauve no matter where you are, and it's supposed to be a smaller habit. Again, 2 to 3 feet by 2 to 3 feet, but it just, I don't know. I think that's new growth, so I think it's promising, and I see some new growth at the base, but oh man, it struggled with that transplant for sure. And coming over here, this is, there's that dragonfly again. He landed right there. This is Perfectamundo Fuchsia Carpet. And so this is an azalea, and I do want to say azaleas needs in the south and in the clay for sure, they need amended soil in order to thrive. And so I did dig up a lot of this clay. I mixed it with some compost and soil acidifier and expanded shale for drainage. And so I think it will be happy, and I can't wait to see. So this is more of a, it's more of a ground cover azalea is the description of it. It's more low growing, and I think like, you know, 3 feet across by 2 feet in height is what it's supposed to get, and bright fuchsia blooms. So super excited about that one. And then next to it, another one that's so different, so unique. Not a lot of people have grown this plant that I know of. This is called a dog hobble, also known as Leucothoe, and it's a shade, part shade to shade shrub, evergreen. So it will stay this, here's another nutsedge. It will stay this color all through the winter. It might turn, the leaves might turn a different color, but it will not lose its leaves during the winter. But this new growth is so pretty, this pink cream color. And this is the Proven Winners variety. It's called Paisley Pup Dog Hobble, and I think it's new for 2025 or 2026. So again, a smaller shrub, 2 to 3 feet by 2 to 3 feet, and it will be in mostly shade in this situation. And so far it's doing pretty good. And then over here, he has some mulch chips that I didn't get off of it when I mulched yesterday, but that is just your normal hydrangea macrophylla that I propagated and was free to me. So I thought, well, let's see how it does. It's supposed to be a shade situation there, but I am noticing it's getting more sun than I think that hydrangea will appreciate. So we will see how it does. So far, it's doing great. And then I have a container over here that I moved from a full sun situation to now what will be a part shade situation. And this is a limelight hydrangea that I trained to be a standard, but it completely defoliated in the full sun this summer. It did not really appreciate that. So we are going to limp it along and see if it survives to next spring. And if it doesn't, I'm putting a Japanese maple in this container, which I think will be really, really good for this spot. And then I just have some cascading vinca and some dichondra that's there. And then what I thought I had pulled, I had grown dianthus in this last winter, and then I thought I pulled all of the dianthus, but I think this one was seeded and grew. And so dianthus, y'all, is such a rock star plant. It is evergreen for us and blooms, spring and then sporadically all through summer, and then kind of gets going again in the fall. So such a great plant. And that one was volunteer, so even better. Okay, so that is the new garden bed. In this area before I leave is for sure a full shade garden. And this is really about, some of these things are 2 years old. The hostas in the containers are 2 years old. Everything else is about 1 year or less old, and it's doing amazing. So here to start off with, this amazing plant right here that, again, it's not even a year old. I planted it last October. This is September, so 11 months ago. This is an autumn fern, and it just absolutely loves its life there. Again, this will be semi-evergreen. Last year it was completely evergreen for me, and it's just done so well. I love that plant. I have some Liriope that's also planted right there that's blooming, and even though it's getting crowded out by the autumn fern, it's doing really well. Yes, I do have some weeds, y'all. It's still been super hot. It's been in the mid-90s, so I haven't really wanted to get out and weed a whole lot, so I apologize, but this is real life. This is how things go, and that's how I like to have my channel. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you or try to hide anything from you. Like, this is real life for me, okay? But this hosta that's in this container is doing fabulous as well. This is Proven Winners. Woolala? No, Shadowland Diamond Lake. And starting to get a little rough around the edges. At this time of year, they start going dormant for sure. And then I have some Liriope, again, all throughout this bed. Some of it is blooming and some of it is not. Oh, wow, I didn't even notice this. This is Black-Eyed Susan vine. I don't know how this seed even got here because it was grown in a completely different garden bed. I didn't know that was growing, but Black-Eyed Susan vine growing in the shade, just FYI. Or is it Morning Glory? I think it's Black-Eyed Susan. But anyway, there is Hydrangea macrophylla growing in complete shade. This is kind of a test for me. I want to see if it blooms in complete shade. So far, the foliage is doing amazing all season long in the shade, but I want to see if it blooms next spring. We will find out. This is another Proven Winners hosta. Not doing amazing at the moment. This is the Shadowland Woolala. And I don't know if it started going dormant early because of like potential, maybe there's something going on in the soil there. Maybe it's being overwatered, or if it's just, it got too hot. And it is getting sun right now, you can see, but it's the morning time, which shouldn't have a problem with. I don't know. We'll see if this guy comes back. It's still definitely alive, but just not doing the best. There is another autumn fern. This one was recently planted about, I think I planted it in July, you guys, and it was the heat of July that I planted this plant, but it was full shade, so I thought, I might do okay. It did fine. It did not skip a beat. It did not. It's just amazing. I love autumn fern. And then some more Liriope. This one is a Labroic hosta, and this is not a Proven Winners variety, but still doing great. Getting eaten by some snails, even though I just put down a little bit of snail bait, but doing great. Over here is a leopard plant. This is giant leopard plant, and again, a little bit of snail damage. I try to put snail bait down fairly frequently, but it just sometimes is not enough. And about this time of year, it could bloom with some yellow flowers, but I'm not seeing a bloom stalk yet, which is, I'm sad about that, but maybe it's still not too late. We'll see. And then another hosta. This one again is kind of going into dormancy pretty fast. This one is Elegans Blue hosta, and these leaves are just ginormous and absolutely beautiful when it's in its full glory, but it's going dormant, and I don't blame it. It has been pretty hot. Again, more weeds. Sorry, y'all. I have some Brunnera. Again, the snails really tried to do some damage here before I put some snail bait down a little bit ago, and the new growth is not touched, so that tells me that they're gone for the most part here. But this is a Sea of Hearts Forget-Me-Not by Monrovia, and it has been super, super, super tough. So again, more Liriope there and those purple blooms. And yeah, so that is my full shade garden on the side of my house there. And here is my other garden that I'm about to take you through. And I'm just stopping and looking and being just in awe of the sun coming through these trees over here. I do have a beautiful borrowed view. This is a creek behind me. It's the watershed of the Lewisville Lake here in North Texas, and it's a protected area. So I will never lose this beautiful view. And this is why we bought this house. One of the reasons we bought this house was this just amazing view that we get to look at every single day. But here we go. Let's show y'all this garden bed. So this is one of my only full sun garden beds, although I would say this is turning into more full sun than I thought it was going to be. But this is my main full sun garden that has been going for maybe 4 or 5 years now, but I have learned a lot in this process. So these plants that you are seeing were not the original plants that I planted when this garden bed was created in 2020. Just letting you know, I've learned a lot since then. And so let me start with the border. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to start here in this corner. This is Double Play Candy Corn Spirea. And let me show you the new growth on Candy Corn Spirea is so gorgeous. Look at that. It starts off with like a red leaf or a pink leaf, and then it gets more bronzy this time of year. But when this plant really shines is in late winter, early spring, and into spring, because this is one of the first plants to come alive. It does lose its leaves in the winter. It's a deciduous shrub, but when it comes back alive in late winter, the leaves are bright red, and it looks like almost a flowering quince plant, but they're not flowers, it's leaves that are red. And they come out looking even brighter than this, like a candy apple red. And then the rest of the plant turns like this yellow color, and then orange, and then a lime green. And after the lime green, it starts putting on blooms, and they're like really beautiful purple blooms. It only blooms in the spring, so this is kind of what it looks like the rest of the year, and it's just a spectacular shrub. Absolutely love it. I have another Spirea. It's a different type right here that I just added this spring. This one is Double Play just Big Bang Spirea, and I'm not loving it. I mean, you're going to see the same type of coloration here, although I think in the spring it will look a little bit different. And the colors of the blooms are more pink than purple, so it has that difference. But the growth habit is the main difference. I'm not loving this growth habit. And I went to the nursery, Callaway's, and they had a bunch of Double Play Big Bang just recently, and all of theirs has this same growth habit. It's almost a weeping shrub, I guess. I guess it's really interesting. I mean, that's kind of a cool thing. But look at this branch. I mean, maybe I could get this going on a trellis in some really unique shapes. Maybe that's an idea. I just don't love how it looks, like the branches all curled up into a ball like that. I guess it's not too bad, but it is strange. I just never have encountered anything like that before. But absolutely love Spirea. They're super rock star plants. I know that this plant has been peed on several times and it's still going. So I don't know if it's labeled as salt tolerant, but I have found it to be resistant to dog urine. And then this has been absolutely gorgeous as well. So this is dwarf Mexican petunia, or also known as dwarf ruellia. It comes in pinks, purples, and whites. This is the pink variety, and this is the time of year that it's really showing off. It does not bloom until mid to late summer, and these blooms only last one day, but you can see all of the other buds that are going to come out tomorrow. So it's just it's a really great border plant, y'all. This can take full sun to part shade, and it's just a rock star, and it multiplies really, really, really well. Actually, I almost put this plant as the border because I do think that it could take the shade all the way to the sun and all of that, but I wasn't sure about its salt tolerance. Yes, my dog has peed on it a little bit, but not too much right here, mostly in this corner. So I'm not sure about the salt tolerance, and they only bloom in mid to late summer. So it's just now getting these blooms, and then it will kind of die off in the winter. And so I thought that the lemon ball sedum here would be better because it will be evergreen for us. So anyway, great border plant. Coming in to the rest of the garden, holy moly, it's like I don't know, everything. It's a hodgepodge of everything, y'all. But let me just quickly say, this plant that you're going to see all throughout this garden bed is probably one of my favorite plants, period. And it is a ground cover, and it is called Plumbago Ceratostigma. And just look at these bright blue flowers. These are what the leaves look like right now. And this is the second year in the ground. There's really only 3 of these Plumbago Ceratostigma planted in this garden bed, but they have completely spread themselves by root system all the way around this garden bed. So I love this. I see, here's a pot that has some cascading vinca and some dichondra, and black-eyed Susan vine is taking over as well. But all throughout all of these flowers, there's echinacea things, there's blue flowers popping up everywhere and mixing with everything. And it doesn't try to choke or do anything to any of the other plants. The other plants thrive being next to the Plumbago Ceratostigma. And it is hardy in our area. I think it's zones 5 through 9. No, that might not be right. It might be 6 through 9. But it's an amazing ground cover, and in the fall it is famous for getting red foliage that turns bronze, and it is a deciduous ground cover, which is interesting. So it won't look like this, it won't be evergreen. However, I think it's a fantastic ground cover, and it's supposed to take part shade all the way to full sun. I'm just so impressed with this plant, and I love it. Hardy Plumbago is another name for that. I have a Summer Pastels yarrow that's trying to grow there. It just hasn't flowered for me. It's, new this year that I grew from seed. It just hasn't flowered. I have an Echinacea purpurea right there that's just kind of coming out of bloom. I have a white swan echinacea right there. I have some sweet alyssum that I grew from seed that's finally starting to kind of take off now that it's cooler. So that's awesome. Let's see, coming around here, I have another echinacea right there. That is powwow echinacea. All of the echinacea are just kind of starting to be done. They bloom in late spring to late summer, I guess you could say. And now they're saying, okay, we're pretty much done now. So here is another fabulous example of how this Plumbago Ceratostigma has just spread everywhere. I do have some dianthus right here. A couple of dianthus plants. I have a peony that's right here, 3 years in the ground, still hasn't bloomed for me. I have a Sweet William plant that is 3 years old, which is surprising because it's a biennial, which means it will last 2 years and then die. But this one is 3 years old and still going, so you can see it right there. And then another powwow echinacea. And then, so what you're kind of seeing right here, I'm dealing with my shadow, but that plant right there that you're seeing all throughout the garden, this is Black-Eyed Susan vine, and I had it growing on this fence last year, along with Confederate Star Jasmine, and last year was the year of the vine, so it was also planted with some morning glory and also planted with purple hyacinth bean vine. And the Black-Eyed Susan vine is the one that has just seeded itself everywhere. I did not plant it this year, and it's coming up everywhere. But it will have some beautiful yellow blooms here pretty soon. I've been trying to keep it away. It is trying to choke out the echinacea and this limelight hydrangea that's right here. Oh yeah, I do have a limelight hydrangea that is fairly new and being trained into a standard this year. But the black-eyed Susan vine is kind of taking over that. I need to get in there. Like I said, I haven't been out here all as much because it's still very, very hot here in the mid 90s. Next week, we're supposed to have somewhat of a cool down. So I think I'll be able to get to that and take out all the black-eyed Susan vine that's coming into this garden bed. But I have another Echinacea purpurea there, along with some queen lime zinnias that are finally taking off. It took a long time for these guys to take off. I don't know why. And they're beautiful. I love that. They're just absolutely gorgeous mixing in with this Echinacea. And here, oh, there is the black-eyed Susan vine starting to flower. Black-eyed Susan vine for us, it blooms a little bit in the spring if it gets going fast enough, because this was obviously seeded and started in the spring. It is an annual plant, but it will not bloom when we have like 100-degree temperatures. So it waits until the nights start cooling off, and once the nights start cooling off, even though we're mid-90s during the day, our nights are cooling off, and so I'm starting to see these flowers. As a matter of fact, whoops, I just knocked over one of my plants. Oh, bummer deal. Okay, I will fix that later in a different pot. I do have another pot. I'll talk about this in my container garden tour, because I will do that. Oh no! He doesn't want to stay. Let's do this. Let's prop it up against this big pot. There we go. Okay, I can fix that later and repot it. I have another pot just like it. But anyway, just a little sneak peek. Mr. Goodbud Sedum is starting to put on some blooms. Okay, and again, I want to give you a sneak peek of this container of black-eyed Susan, and this one is in full flower. So just an idea, this is what my back fence is going to look like. And then you can see a black-eyed Susan is flowering in there. Because it is coming into the garden bed, I'm gonna have yellow flowers all throughout the garden bed too. So maybe that's not such a bad thing that I haven't gotten to them. Maybe I should just let them go and let them bloom. But that's beautiful. You'll see all the rest of my containers in my container garden tour, so stay tuned for that. In the next week, that will be published for sure. So again, Confederate Star Jasmine is growing all along this fence and trying to take over some of my containers. So again, I need to get on top of that. But another plant I have growing in here, goodness gracious, this is all such a hodgepodge back here. This is a trellis that has started to become overtaken with the Confederate Star Jasmine, but growing in with it here is a clematis. And this is, it should be, I have two clematis. I have this one, which is Sapphire Indigo Clematis, and that one is the mature one. It got eaten up by grasshoppers. This was a bloom, but it's not anymore. But there's another type of clematis that's growing in there now that was bare root last year. I'm trying to think of the name. Jackmani Clematis is what it's called, and that now I can't tell what's what in there unless it's flowering, because the Jackmani has started to take off a little bit this year as well. So that's what's kind of going on in that area. Well, there's Chloe. Goodness, this is Chloe, our backyard garden cat. She usually has joined me well before now. I don't know where she was off hiding in the forest, but she has decided to come and join us. Hi, Chloe. Right next to that, I do have a rosemary there. It should be moved because it's getting overshadowed with all of the vines and everything that's overgrown. So I do need to move that, but it's still doing fine in this shady environment. I do have a garden friend, a garden orb spider. She is lovely. Holy moly. Yep. My daughter named her Banana Pudding. She's moved a couple of times. But anyway, she has joined us. And we're letting her do her thing because she's catching, as you can see, lots and lots of whitefly and mosquitoes over there and taking care of some of my pests. So I love that. And here is my Texas sage. She was blooming beautifully last week. I'm going to pop a picture on the screen because it looked absolutely beautiful last week, and then this week, maybe not so much. Also, it's struggling, and I am definitely trying to get to the bottom of why it is struggling, but it's defoliating on the bottom. Some of the leaves are turning yellow, but it still bloomed beautifully for me last week, and I'm just not super sure why. And then coming over here, that super tall specimen is a one sunshine ligustrum. Look at this. I am up on my patio, which is, 3 feet above this garden on this side. And this guy is taller than me, and I'm 5 foot tall. So this means that this plant is about 8 feet tall or higher. And it continues to just grow and grow and grow. So much, in fact, that I've been talking to my husband about some things. On this side, it is starting to collapse in rainstorms, which means if we get any kind of snow, this is going to collapse as well. And that's not good. And so one thing I know for sure is that branch needs to be completely taken off, which will create, a hole in this shrub, no doubt. I'm tempted to just, in late winter, this is not the time to really heavily prune your shrubs, okay? Sunshine Ligustrum's pretty tough, and it could probably take it. And it has enough time to recuperate before we have a freeze. We still have, 2 months before our average first freeze, or average first frost. But so it has time to recuperate after a really hard prune. However, it could damage it a little bit. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to kill the plant though. And so I'm debating of either cutting it down completely because it's shading everything beneath it, or just really, really, really taking it in. My husband was like, why don't you just take it in by 20% and take that branch off and then let the hole fill out next year. So I'm tempted to do that. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know, should I cut this guy completely in half and let it just completely regrow? Which, if I do that, I won't do that until late winter. Or should I now just cut it, lollipop? It's already trained as a standard. I think I can show you. I've cut all of this bottom growth off. You see the whitefly, you guys? That's another thing I'm going to talk about. But it's trained as a standard right now, and so just lollipop this, cut it down by 20%, cut that branch out, and let it recuperate after that. I'm not sure. The other thing going on with it, like I said, that you just saw is whitefly, and I have been treating it, I felt like fairly successfully until about a month ago. And then I went with the big guns and I got the Bio Advanced 3-in-1 Tree and Shrub Care, which is supposed to specifically take care of whitefly for 12 months. I applied that a week ago, and it was not cheap, and it has not done anything yet. And so now I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I'm not sure, because this whitefly is really, really, really bad. And it was starting to affect my plants around it as well. And it had the same thing going on in the front yard. Whitefly has just been so bad this year. But anyway, yeah, and I want to put a side note, you guys. I don't normally recommend using Bio Advanced anything because it is a systemic pesticide. Gets into the roots of the plants, and especially the 12-month one. It stays in the roots of the plant. If you have a flowering plant, do not use Bio Advanced, please. It really harms the pollinators. The only reason I did it is because this plant does not flower, and it's far enough away from my flowering plants that it won't affect the flowering plants, if that makes sense. So if you have flowering plants right next to it, don't do it, please. But this was last ditch effort. I tried other pest management methods. It wasn't working, and so now I've switched to the big guns, and it still doesn't seem to really be working that well. I'm not sure why. But anyway, there you go. Moving on to this part, I'm not going to hop down there. It's really wild, and like I said, I can't get down there because of the Sunshine Ligustrum, but I do have a Limelight Hydrangea. This one is growing in full shade. I have some Rainbow Coleus growing down there. There is some Echinacea purpurea, which when it was planted there, that was a full sun area. But most of the Echinacea purpurea I transplanted. I still have those two left. I'm going to leave them. just because I don't know what I'm going to do with the Sunshine Ligustrum. If I cut it all the way back, it'll get, you know, at least part sun, which it'll do fine with. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do there. But I have a Texas sage back there that's not doing very well because it's too shaded. Right next to the Limelight Hydrangea is a plant that really has been a superstar. This is my hand, and this is how big the flower is. This is Mexican sunflower. Mexican sunflower is an annual, but I have found it to be, well, very, very, very tall. That's about 12 feet tall, 13 feet tall, okay? So you must have a very large area for it to grow. And you must be okay with it growing very, very tall. But I will say this is one of the biggest pollinator magnets that I've ever grown in my life, particularly with butterflies and hummingbirds. I've seen so many butterflies, so many hummingbirds on this plant. It's unbelievable. And it has been knocked down on this side because I have two growing on this side and one growing down there, and they both have been knocked over by a fierce rainstorm that came through. They got so tall that this biggest branch just kind of broke in half, and it just came down. And so I cut all of that, and it regrew and is coming out this way. And then this one broke right there. You can see where it broke in that rainstorm, broke in half. So I just cut it completely down, and now it's regrowing from the bottom. And then I have another one that's just kind of growing all willy-nilly. That's the one that didn't break is the one that is 12 to 13 feet tall. It's insane, but really beautiful flowers. Blooms all summer long. I haven't had it into the fall, so I'll see, how far we go into fall with it blooming, but it's amazing. It's just way too crazy for the space that I'm growing it in. I have a small garden space. I don't have the space for this kind of vigorous growth. And so next year I already purchased some dwarf Mexican sunflower or Tithonia seeds from Park Seed, and I'm going to try the dwarf variety. It's only supposed to get 4 feet tall, so I think that it will do well. I don't know that I'll plant it here, but I definitely will be growing this plant in the future because of, like, the bees love it, the butterflies love it, the hummingbirds are very attracted to it, and it's just a fantastic annual plant and super tough. Like I said, it had been infested with whitefly. And so I'm kind of glad that those portions broke off, and I just completely cut it down, because this new growth, when I had the whitefly under control, this new growth is not whitefly infested at all yet, but who knows. And then coming back here, there is a Mexican sunflower. See, this is what I'm saying. It does get floppy. And so now it's flopped. I can see it is flopped over my vine that's growing back there. That is coral honeysuckle. And it's planted right here, right back there is where it's planted, and it is just growing. It has grown probably 15 feet over into my garden that way on this fence, and so many, it's trying to grow up this tree that's behind my fence and all of the things. It's done really, really well, and it has beautiful, beautiful blooms in the spring. This is not the invasive type of honeysuckle. The Japanese honeysuckle is the invasive variety. The coral honeysuckle, this is native to Texas, and it's doing really, really well. So coming over here, this is my favorite perennial vine. This is Tangerine Beauty Crossvine, and it is putting on some blooms right now, which is fabulous. Some of them are spent, so they're falling. But this is my favorite perennial vine. It is amazing, and in the springtime, it is covered. Like, you can't even see green in the springtime because it is covered in blooms. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It is an evergreen vine as well. It turns slightly purple in the springtime, and then it blooms sporadically throughout the summer. They struggle, I will say. Here's some more blooms tucked in back there. Oh, there was that garden. This is where Banana Pudding, our orb-weave spider, used to be. She moved, but her web is still there, so I can't really get back there to show you. There's a cluster of blooms that I'm trying to show you back there, but there's a spider web in front of them. Those are, there's another cluster. But anyway, blooms sporadically through the summer. a little bit more bloom right now. This is bigger than my normal sporadic bloom for sure. But it's the best of mine ever. And it has leapt this year for sure. It's doing fantastic. There's 4 of them planted, 1 for each trellis there. And then here is my part shade / shade side yard. So this one, y'all, please forgive me. This one is one that I don't tend to nearly as frequently, especially when it is hot. So there's going to be weeds, there's going to be things, and we're just going to see how it's doing. Yeah, let's go through. It is crazy back here. Okay, so I have a foxglove grown from seed. This is a part shade situation. It's doing good, but first year, so not seeing any blooms yet. Hoping for blooms in the spring. All of these are canna lilies that are volunteer this year. I thought I got rid of all of the canna lilies in this area. They spread like crazy here in zone 8. And so, yeah, that's what that is. Gosh, I have blanket flower. Experimental to see if it would grow in part shade. It does not love part shade. It is super, super floppy, acting like a ground cover here. The other thing that's acting like a ground cover here that doesn't love the part shade is Greg's blue mist flower. So that is a super butterfly attractant plant. And I just haven't seen a lot of butterflies on it, to be honest. I don't know if it's the location or what, but it's definitely acting like a ground cover back here. I have volunteer zinnias over here from last year. I did not plant those. Coming over here, definitely battling my shadow. I'm sorry, y'all. But I have a boxwood back here. I've thought about moving it several times. It just kind of seems out of place there. I do have an aster that I planted last year, and it has struggled so much. But I do see some blooms about to come because it is fall. So that's exciting. I planted a Plumbago serrata stigma back here this summer. This was rooted from, you know, like a place where I didn't want it to come up, and it's just doing fabulous here in the part sun. It could just take over this whole area and I'd be happy. I have a daylily here that's not currently blooming. I need to cut off these stems, but it's a peach variety. Oh, they're just coming right out. Yeah, there you go. Daylily. There is some amaryllis planted back there. Lots of different varieties of amaryllis that I've been successful growing. So those should be blooming in the spring. And this is Purple Heart Tradescantia, or Wandering Jew, that I thought my puppy killed completely last year, but it has come back pretty well in this area. This is coming out pretty soon. This is a Rose Mallow, and she just has not been super happy here. She has white blooms, but completely eaten most of the time by grasshoppers, and then just doesn't love life right there. So it's coming out, and I'm going to put something different in its place. Maybe a Turk's cap or a panicle hydrangea. I'm not sure. I do have some panicle hydrangeas that could go there, so that might be what I'll do. It gets maybe 3 to 4 hours of sun from 9 a.m. to about 1. I have some begonias that I planted there. And then starting right here, this is all full shade. And that's because we are underneath a crepe myrtle tree. That's my neighbor's tree. And so all of these are in the shade. These are all endless summer hydrangeas. And it's their 3rd year in the ground. And they have struggled. This is a brand new garden bed. And so the soil wasn't completely amended. And I definitely hit it with lots of soil acidifier and chelated iron and things like that, but they've struggled with chlorosis. They're kind of coming out of the chlorosis. And then all of the things you see, like this is a crepe myrtle leaves, but this one's doing good and is big, and this one is doing pretty good and it's big. But then I have these 3 right here that are very small. I think that's because they're deep shade right here. So that's probably the reason. And then right over here, it gets a little bit more sun. And so it's a little bit bigger right there. But let's see. In between, I had planted a bunch of begonias. I think those haven't done so well this year. And also I have Some coral bells. Some of them have made it, some of them have not. They're, again, in here less than a year. This one is the caramel variety, and then this one is the onyx, which is supposed to be a purple, and it's doing okay, but it's just not thriving there. Coral bells are, oh, you know what, and then this is Georgia peach, which has a little bit of new growth, but for the most part they haven't done as well as I had hoped. And then coming right here, this is definitely part shade, and I mean like midday part shade. So 10 a.m. to about 2 p.m. I have some pink Turk's cap right here, and it is blooming. So that is pretty. I do like Turk's cap. I love the pink Turk's cap, but I think I might do red Turk's cap over there if I take out the rose mallow. And then again, a begonia that's done well. Turk's cap is coming in here. Daylily is right there. But I see Turk's cap is kind of taking over this area. And then this maybe should be limbed up. This is a portion of my oak leaf hydrangea that's also spilling. I think I might take that branch out. I don't think I want that branch right there going into the Turk's cap. But this guy, wow, what a rock star. This is supposed to be a dwarf, dwarf Alice oak leaf hydrangea. And this has been in the ground, it'll be 2 years next month. And it's supposed to get 5 feet by 5 feet. It is now at least 6 feet. It's taller than I am by maybe 6 inches to a foot. So it's definitely happy in this location. Just, you know, an amazing plant. It bloomed beautifully this spring, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and more beautiful and more beautiful. So I'm just really, really loving that there. And so this is, you know, eventually my Gatsby pink oak leaf will get to be that big or bigger, because it's supposed to be 6 to 8 feet by 6 to 8 feet. And if it's happy in that location, it will be bigger than this. So that's just unbelievable. I'm excited to see that in my new garden bed. Definitely wanted more oak leaf hydrangeas after my experience with this one. It's been so tough as well. And it gets midday sun, so until 2 p.m., which that's hot. So I do have one more plant on the other side of this. Let's see if I can get over here, because it's literally reaching the fence. All right, there we go. This guy, this is a full-size Mexican petunia, and it's taken a couple years for it to get like this. I love it. I think it's under recognized right here, because like no one can see it past this oak leaf hydrangea, and then the oak leaf hydrangea is kind of trying to grow into it. So here fairly soon, I think I'm going to transplant it. And actually, I might just go ahead and transplant it where that rose mallow is. It'll be happier with that little bit more sun, I think. They do good in part shade. I'm thinking this through. I think I will. I think I'm gonna transplant that guy, because I can't see the beauty of these purple flowers because it's hidden by the oak leaf hydrangea. And so, yep, that guy's gonna get moved, but it is beautiful. And so there you have it. That's my backyard. I have, what, 4 different garden beds in my backyard now. I'm absolutely loving it. It really has just been so fun over the years to see what works back here in the different environments and all of our challenges that we have here in Texas. But I thank you so much for coming along with me today and watching. If you like what you have seen, I do monthly garden tours, even throughout the winter, y'all, because I like to document my gardens and how they look every year and every month, so that I get ideas and get inspired and learn from my mistakes. And so I do monthly garden tours, as well as lots of other different types of videos as well. I will be having a container garden tour coming soon, so you'll be able to see and get all of the details of the other containers that I have. I have 40 to 50, maybe more than 50 containers in my garden. And so definitely subscribe to my channel so that you can see that content. Like and comment. Let me know what you think and what you're growing and what's looking amazing in your garden this September. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.